This week on Cruisin' New England. It was America's first great motor vehicle city, and it wasn't Detroit. It was right here in New England. I'm Paul Manette, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Cruisin' New England. Today we're in Springfield, Massachusetts at the Museum of Springfield History. Today we're going to have a look at a beautiful collection of Indian motorcycles, and we're going to find out a lot about automobiles that were made right here in Springfield, Massachusetts. All this and more on Cruisin' New England. All my life, I've been cruising New England, meeting great people, visiting amazing places, and discovering wonderful classic and custom car collections, nostalgic automobilia, and so much more. Come on and join our adventure. I'm Paul Manette. Let's go cruising. Find out what's happening. Get up-to-date information as I travel throughout New England and beyond. To get exclusive information and behind-the-scenes photos, join me on Facebook.
In the market for new tires? There's only one place to go. Town Fair Tire. We beat anyone, any day. Online prices? We beat them. Wholesale clubs? Other tire dealers? We beat them. No matter what the brand or the size, Town Fair Tire will beat any price, any day. And you always get all these services free. That's why nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Name brands at discount prices. Town Fair Tire.
Don't miss the Amherst Outdoor Antique Auto Show and Flea Market, Amherst, New Hampshire. The last Sunday of the month, April through October. Over 500 spots. Gates open at 6 a.m. with free admission.
Hi, I'm Jim Grundy, the old original from Grundy Worldwide Collector Car Insurance. We've been providing antique car insurance for 65 years, and now this year we have the latest and greatest state-of-the-art technology. Our new system allows you to go online on our website and get a quote in 2 minutes. If you like what you see, you can apply, plug in your credit card, and get your policy delivered to your email the same day. So for all your collector car insurance needs, try Grundy Worldwide.
Your special moments are something to remember. For weddings, portraits, and special events, contact Sparks Fly Photography.
Would you like to see more Cruisin' New England television? Now you can watch Cruisin' New England every day on our website television show. See past episodes featuring premier automobile collections, memorabilia, automobilia, and car shows. You'll see our visit with Charles Gould and his Matchbox Motors Microcar Museum, the Chevy Guy, John Broden's car collection and automobilia, and a whole lot more. Join us on our website television show at cruisingnewengland.com. We're back, and we're in Springfield, Massachusetts at the Springfield Museum of History. And I'm here with Guy McLean, and you are the director.
Yes. This museum is dedicated to the history of Springfield and the region here. And this was an area that a lot of great inventions came out of. Primarily the invention of the first automobile and the development of a great automobile industry and Indian motorcycle. This was the home of Indian Motorcycle, once the largest motorcycle company in the world. And this is what this museum is all dedicated to.
You know, I'm very excited to learn more about these automobiles and especially the Indian motorcycle. So I guess that's where we're going to start.
Well, yes, the Indian motorcycles, this first case shows it started with two men, Oscar Hedstrom and George Hindy. George Hindy was, before he got into making Indian motorcycles, he was a great bicycle racer. He was the American champion between 1882 and 1886. He started a bicycle company. Bicycle company started experimenting with putting motors on bicycles, and we can see that he formed a partnership with Carl Oscar Hedstrom. And you can see, basically, this is a bicycle with a one-cylinder motor. And what's amazing about this, a lot of people think Indian made the very first motorcycle in America. Not true. There were motorcycles before Indian, but the thing that Indian is known for is Indian made the first commercially successful motorcycle in America, and you're looking at it one right here. This was the one that Hedstrom himself owned when he left the company, when he retired from the company. And so it really is a great example of his early design. But you can see it still has the pedals because that's how you started the motorcycle at that time.
Or if you ran out of gas.
Yeah, there we go. You could pedal it. Okay, this is the first commercial Indian. They started making them in 1901. This is a 1904. And here we can see this is one made in 1913. By 1913, we're looking at a motorcycle that we can recognize clearly as a motorcycle of the modern era. And by this point, by 1913, Indian is making 32,000 motorcycles a year. It's the largest company, largest motorcycle maker in the world by far. Harley-Davidson started in business in 1904, about 3 years behind Indian, but they're not half as large as Indian at this point. Indian is a much bigger company at this point. And you can see this is a great example of what they made in 1913. And Oscar Hedstrom, the founder who made the earlier motorcycles, designed this motorcycle as well.
Now this one here looks altogether different, the next bike I'm looking at.
Yeah, this is a 1917 motorcycle. Again, you can see it's a smaller design. Indian tried to come up with many different kinds of models, smaller, larger motorcycles, more powerful motorcycles. They were really developing an array of products because they were the dominant motorcycle maker in the United States, really in the world. To this very day, you can find Indian motorcycles in collections in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, New Zealand, all over the world. And this is a board track racer, a 1912 board track racer, owned by this man shown in the photograph here, Stanley Cornell. Board track racing was done on big, gigantic bowls that were made out of wood, and they would race around. Now, interesting thing about this racer, no brakes on this motorcycle because with the bowl, centrifugal force held you to the side of the bowl. So if you put the brakes on, you just slide down the side of the bowl. Maybe you'd be hit by another racer or something. So they didn't bother with brakes. Of course, that's just more weight anyway. They were racers. They wanted to keep their motorcycles as light as possible. So there's no brakes on this motorcycle. Another nice feature of this particular motorcycle is it has the original board track tires still on this motorcycle. A lot of board track racers that are collected over the years, they don't have the original tires on them because, of course, they wore out and they were replaced. So this is very rare to have board track tires on this one.
Show us the board track tire itself.
Yeah, you can see it's kind of these grooves here, and you can see some of it's deteriorated away over the years, but you can see these kind of grooves because these grooves helped hold the motorcycle to the sides of these bowls that they raced in. Of course, these board track racing was very dangerous. Terrible crashes where motorcycles went up into the audience, people were killed, and that's why board track racing was banned.
Wow, that's incredible. I never knew they had such a sport. Guy, I can't wait to see the rest of this collection, and we will when we come back on Cruisin' New England.
Order a bunch of parts to get ready for the car show this weekend?
And I got a hot deal, too.
You think? Think again.
Oh, man.
Tired of back orders? You need NPD. With 4 strategically located superstores, orders are shipped direct to your door within 1 to 3 business days. National Parts Depot has quality restoration parts for Ford Truck, Mustang, Camaro, Chevelle, and Firebird. For your free catalog, visit NPD online or call toll-free.
When September comes, the party begins. Cruise on over to the Big E in West Springfield, Mass, September the 13th through the 29th.
Experience McMulkin Chevrolet, one of the largest volume new and pre-owned Corvette dealers in the country.
I came here because I heard McMulkin has the largest selection of Corvettes in the Northeast.
I bought a ZR1 because I wanted the fastest production car out there.
McMulkin has one of the most extensive inventories of coupes and convertibles, available and ready for delivery.
The Taj Mahal of Chevy dealerships. If you haven't been around, you got to come and check this place out.
Make it the true American sports car, Corvette. McMulkin Chevrolet is your Corvette dealer.
Cruisin' New England magazine. Plan your cruise and car show season. Subscribe today at cruisingnewengland.com or call 508-428-8055.
Cash for Gold, the place to sell your unwanted gold and diamonds. Where you sell your jewelry is as important as where you buy it. We at Cash for Gold are diamond and gold specialists. We will buy all size diamonds, gold chains, rings, bracelets, silver coins, and even broken jewelry. Often we pay 2 to 3 times higher than pawn shop prices. We also pay up to 90% of the daily price of both diamonds and gold. We are the original, authentic, family-run Cash for Gold and have been for more than 28 years. Visit us at 527 South Broadway, Route 28 in Salem, New Hampshire. Would you like more information about the Cruisin' New England Car Show series? Go to our website at cruisingNewEngland.com. We're back, and along with that great motorcycle collection that we've seen, and we're going to see a lot more of later, you have a great history here with the automobile in Springfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Springfield is really where the car industry in America started. The car right behind me here is the 1893 Duryea, the very first car in America. Most people think Henry Ford made the first car in America. Not true. It was made here in Springfield by Charles and Frank Duryea. Frank Duryea was the main engineer behind the project, and he drove it on the streets of Springfield in September of 1893. We also have the 1903 Stevens Duryea. That's another car that once Duryea became Stevens Duryea, they formed a partnership in the early 20th century. It became Stevens Duryea, and this is a very special car. It's a 1903, and it's the oldest surviving Stevens Duryea still left today.
Now, how long did Duryea stay in business?
They stayed in business until 1915. They started, of course, at the very beginning of the automobile industry in America, 1893. They developed one of the first cars to race in the United States. They won a race in Chicago in 1895, one of the very first races in America. 7 cars entered that race, only 2 finished. So the way you won races in that day is you made it to the finish line, number 1, and then you did faster than everybody else.
So what do you think it was like to drive one of these things back then?
Oh, it was really amazing. You know, of course, you had to be a mechanic to drive one of these things. They broke down all the time. They were, you had flat tires on a regular basis. Every other time you went out, you had a flat tire. But it really was the beginning of a great industry. Improvements were coming out every year, and everybody was trying something new. Every car was very unique. You know, today cars, you get in, and most of the features are very similar. Not on these cars. Everything was different with each different model.
All right, now what are we going to have a look at? I know there's so much to see in the museum here.
In this section we have Knox and Atlas automobiles. Knox was the second company in Springfield. They started in 1899, and we have an 1899 Knox owned by Everett Barney, who was also an inventor in Springfield. He invented the clamp-on ice skate that was very, very popular in the Victorian era. That company developed very, very quickly into one of the major companies, car companies in the early 20th century, the first decade of the 20th century.
So now this is a 3-wheel. There's really not much to it, Guy.
Yeah, and the 3 wheels was actually a very practical design.
How fast could you expect to go in this?
And this car was only top speed 6, 7, 8 miles an hour.
A little bit faster than a horse. Where's the gas tank on this?
Well, the gas tank, today, EPA would never allow this, but at that time, the gas tanks were actually under the driver's seat of the car.
Now, behind you have another one you're going to show us here, a brass era vehicle again?
Yes, a 1904. You can see how the Knox vehicles got very large. They made cars that were a little bigger than most of the cars at the time.
I guess the history goes on here. Now we're going to have a look. I guess we're going to move on and we're going to have a look at the Atlas motor car.
Yes, exactly. Now this is a 1910 Atlas. What's interesting about this is this was also designed by Harry Knox, the same person who made Knox. But what happened was he got into a dispute with the financial backers of the Knox Automobile Company. So he left the company, started another company called Knox. They sued him, said, you're confusing our customers, and they won the suit. So Harry Knox couldn't even use his own name, and so he came up with the name Atlas and designed this car. And this is a beautiful example of the cars that Harry Knox designed as Atlases from about 1906 to about 1911, 1912.
So, Guy, how come no rim with these tires?
Well, because at that time, you just didn't change a tire like we do today, pop another tire on there. You actually had to basically reconstruct the wheel when you were changing your flat tire.
You had to be in pretty good shape, I'll tell you, to do that.
Absolutely, very mechanically inclined. Driving these cars in this day was really a mechanic's operation.
Now we're talking about a real luxury automobile here. This is what? How many passengers? A 5 to 7 passenger vehicle?
Right. Yes, Atlas made really nice big cars. These were beautiful, very expensive cars in the day. And of course, that's what led to the demise of Atlas and really the Springfield car industry is the Model T came in. Now, when the Model T first came in, the Springfield car makers were making these really beautiful luxury cars. They said those Model Ts, not half as good a car, and they really weren't. Model T cars weren't as good mechanically or as luxurious as these cars, but they were a lot cheaper, and that's what did the Springfield car industry in eventually.
A lot more from the Museum of Springfield History when we come back on Cruisin' New England. Welcome to the Town Fair Tire Recognition Award Series. Each week we're going to be giving away an award to recognize a classic car owner throughout New England. I'm here with Jim Giuliano. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Advertising for Town Fair Tire.
Paul, Town Fair Tire is a proud sponsor of the Recognition Award Series. At the end of the series, we're going to have a Town Fair Tire Choice Award winner for the $500 gift certificate.
It's going to be very exciting. Jim, I want to introduce you to Steve Gray.
Steve, tell us about your car.
It's a 1932 Highboy. Small block Chevy, putting out 420 horse.
Really awesome looking vehicle, and thanks for coming down. I'd like to present you with a trophy and a gift certificate from Town Fair Tire. Great looking vehicle.
Thank you.
At Town Fair Tire, you always get free mounting, free flat repair, free tire rotation, free snow tire changeover. Drive with confidence. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Town Fair Tire.
We're back, and Springfield has an unbelievable story with the Rolls-Royce.
Yes, absolutely. Rolls-Royce was selling so many cars in the United States that they decided to set up a plant, and they chose Springfield because Springfield had so many great, they had such a car industry. And at first, they sent their engineers over here because they were going to make an exact replica of the British cars being made in England. But as things developed, things started changing, and really the American Rolls-Royce evolved into a completely different car. It has different parts and was engineered in many different ways than the British car. It's from 1920 to 1929. They made almost 3,000 Rolls-Royces in the United States during that decade.
That's really incredible. I think a lot of people out there don't realize that they did make Rolls-Royces in this country.
And this is a great example. This 1928 was owned by a man by the name of Alan Swift from West Hartford. He bought this car. He came to the factory in Springfield, bought this car in January of 1929. He owned this car until his death in September of 2005. The museum is the second owner of this car. He owned this car for 77 straight years. It's the longest single-owned Rolls-Royce, British British or American in history.
And I tell you, it's a beautiful vehicle too. Look at these colors. Can you tell us a little bit about the color of it?
Well, absolutely. He picked this color himself. This was his color. It wasn't a very standard color in the 1920s, but he wanted this color, so he requested it. And it has gold leaf on the side. The reason that there's gold leaf edging on the side is because his company in Hartford was a gold leaf company, and that's why. And it has his initials on the side and everything. He kept. And one thing about this car today is it's never been restored. So many cars wound up in a barn or a garage and had to be really restored. He kept this. He had a 4-car garage dedicated to taking care of this car.
I would have thought this was restored. It's in that good a condition.
Oh, absolutely. It's in perfect shape, perfect condition. Still runs beautifully today. You turn this car on, the motor just purrs.
Yeah, you have more than just this one on display here, and I think our audience should know what you have.
Yes, absolutely. We have 2 beautiful Rolls Royces. This one in 1925. The 1925 Rolls Royce is a Rolls Royce that was originally owned by Presley Blake, the co-founder with his brother, Curtis Blake, of Friendly's Ice Cream.
Wow, great story.
What do you say we get back to more of the Indian motorcycle collection?
Absolutely.
Over here, this kind of looks like a wicker sleigh. What is it?
This is a wicker sidecar, dated 1905. Very rare. Very few survive. Of course, wicker didn't survive very well. But they were trying to come up with ways of making sidecars. They hadn't developed modern plastics in that time period, so they were trying all kinds of different materials. And one of the things they tried was wicker. This is a 1926 hill climber. Hill climb racing is also something that's been very popular over the years, and is a great example of the hill climbing. And we actually put it on a hill to show how these motorcycles were used. We also have a wonderful 101 Indian Scout. The 101s made between about 1928 and 1932 were really special motorcycles. Many Indian collectors consider motorcycles made in that time period, the Indians made at that time period, as being some of the best Indians ever made. And this one's in 1929, restored by the president of the 101 Society, George Yeraki, and it still runs.
I didn't know that Indian actually made outboard motors.
Yes, indeed. These are 2 stainless steel outboard motors made at that time. Stainless steel was a new product at that time. Of course, for boats, outboard motors, you want to have something that's as light as possible. And so Indian developed these stainless steel outboard motors. One of among many other products they made airplane motors. They made a lot of other things too. We were saying earlier how Indian was much bigger than Harley-Davidson in the early years. But by the 1920s, Harley-Davidson started to become a major competitor to Indian. One of the things that we show here with the Laughing Indian is always on the back of the uniform of the Indian racer. The reason for that is when the Indian racer is passing the Harley racer, the Harley racer can see the Laughing Indian as he passes him.
Oh boy. When we come back, we're going to have a look at a lot more Indian motorcycles. All this and more on Cruisin' New England.
Hi, my name is Neil Murley, Murley's Car Care Center. We are Southern New England's Sunoco race fuel dealer. Save on Sunoco race fuel right off Route 3 in Weymouth Heights. And good luck on the track.
These are the faces of childhood food allergies. To these kids, it's not about the inconvenience of restricting peanut products and other food allergens at school or at camp. To more than 6 million of our precious children, it can be a matter of life and death. Help us keep all of our children safe. Learn to recognize allergic reactions. Know the facts about food allergies.
Visit the Wood Museum of Springfield History in Springfield, Mass., home of the world's largest Indian motorcycle collection, and Springfield-built cars like Rolls-Royce and the Duryea. Would you like information about Cruisin' New England Productions? Cruisin' New England magazine has been the premier auto and events magazine for over 20 years. Cruisin' New England Car Show Series includes the Elite Dream Machines at Mohegan Sun Casino, the Super Wheel Showdown on City Hall Plaza, Boston, the Circle of Champions at the Big E Fair, and the Spooktacular Cruisin' Classic. Or for personal appearances by Paul Manette or advertising on our television show, contact us at cruisenewengland@aol.com.
Building Maintenance Services. We've been servicing the Northeast since 1990. We service and repair revolving doors, automatic and handicap doors. We can help you design an attractive, efficient entrance you can be proud of. Protect your investment and secure your property with yearly maintenance contracts and 24-hour service. Whether in office, medical, or commercial high-rise, we'll get the job done right for you. Building Maintenance Services.
We're back with Guy, and we're talking about Indian motorcycles.
Yes, and these are very interesting in this section here. In this section, we show four-cylinder motorcycles. In the 1930s, most of the motorcycles before the 1930s were two-cylinder motorcycles, but in the 1930s, there was an interest in building a more powerful, bigger motorcycle, and they went to four cylinders. Indian actually had a little trouble with selling these because it was the Depression, 1930s, that was the Great Depression, and the four cylinders were larger motorcycles, more expensive, so they had trouble. They didn't make a lot of money off of them at first, but they were really popular with the police. The policemen who used motorcycles a lot in that day and age loved the big four cylinders, big, powerful, fast motorcycles, and they were very comfortable as well. Then also too, we've got this. This is a 1942 military motorcycle, World War II. Basically, this is a 1942 civilian, and this is a 1942 military motorcycle. Now, the thing about Indians in the World War II, very interesting story. The military came out with a request for the motorcycle companies, Harley and Indian, to make 550cc motorcycles. That was the size of the motor. Indian said, okay, great. They complied. They made a 550cc. Harley ignored that specification of the military, made a 750cc. The reason the military had asked for the smaller one is because they thought they needed a smaller motorcycle for the front. But Harley ignored that, made a big, more powerful motorcycle. The American soldiers wound up liking the Harleys, the bigger Harleys, a lot more. And that meant that the demand for Indians, the military didn't go back. Even though the military had asked for the smaller motorcycles, it wound up penalizing Indian, and Indians' financial trouble started in World War II because they didn't get the military contracts.
Didn't they kind of put all their eggs into one basket with the military because of the slow sales?
Well, yeah, and that was part of the problem. In World War II, everybody was going into military sales, and that was part of the problem. And because they didn't get a lot of the military sales, Harley got more of the military sales. That really hurt the company. And it didn't knock the company completely out, but it certainly was a blow and led to problems later on.
The great successes that Indian had, what happened?
The demise of Indian started in the 40s with the situation in World War II, but after World War II, in the late 40s and the early 50s, is really when the company started having major problems. Two main things caused the company to go out of business in 1953. The Aero motorcycle, which we see two examples, these two yellow Aero motorcycles here, were the motorcycle that they came out with in about 1947 and 1948, and it really is a very unique and very forward-looking design. But he was a little bit too ahead of his time and had some mechanical problems that they didn't work out, and it got a bad reputation, and that really hurt sales. And then finally, the other thing that killed the company was something we know of today, we're very familiar with today. Labor was cheaper overseas. So they shut down the plant in 1953 in Springfield.
But it'll always go down as one of the most popular motorcycles in the history of automotive industry.
Absolutely. It was one of the great early brands, or one of the great early products in the first half of the 20th century. It was involved in racing. It's a part of American folklore. It's one of those great iconic brands that will be valued and cherished by motorcycle enthusiasts for many, many decades to come. Paul, there's one more thing I've got to show you that's part of the Indian motorcycle collection, and it's not a motorcycle, it's a car. This is an Indian motorcycle car. Many people who know Indian motorcycles really well don't know that Indian actually made cars. They were prototypes. They were trying to develop a new car. They were going to come out with a line of cars to go along with their motorcycles. Regrettably, the stock market crash hit in 1929. The company said, we better not come out with a new product. They ceased operations, and that was the end of the automobile business for Indian. But this is the fourth car. This is the very last car that Indian made. We're very lucky to have this car because it's just a great example of what Indian was trying to develop. They were trying to develop this little roadster And boy, if they would have come out with this car, it would have been a great car, a great model. I think it would have been very, very popular.
I agree. It's a beautiful automobile. I've had a great time here today in the Springfield History Museums. Guy, thanks for this great guided tour you gave me.
Thank you for coming.
I'm Paul Manette. Until next time, I'll be cruising New England.